What does it take for an unassuming German duchess to become the Queen of England during a time of intense upheaval? That remarkable story belongs to Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, an unlikely monarch with unexpected background who married King George III in 1761. As his steadfast wife and consort for nearly 60 decades, the virtuous Queen Charlotte was a steadying presence alongside the mentally afflicted king during a turbulent epoch defined by revolution redefining Western democracy in America and France. Though a German-born, historians now believe Charlotte had African ancestry that intertwined her life with Britain's role in the barbarity of the colonial slave trade. Examining the extraordinary journey of this improbable sovereign challenges preconceived notions about the interwoven narrative of Europe and Africa under the imperial rule. A faithful royal match. From provincial princess to prominent, Queen Charlotte was born in 1744 in small northern German Mecklenburg as Princess Sophia Charlotte. Growing up, she lived an unremarkable provincial life as the youngest daughter of an impoverished duke, but a minor German courtier once described the petite Charlotte as the most agreeable princess we have ever seen in this part, and word of her gentle charm soon spread abroad after the British King George III summoned the princess sight unseen. Based on a striking portrait, a delegation journey to inspect the princess, they approvingly described the 70-year-old as possessing great native dignity, fine blue eyes, charming facial features, and an abundance of chestnut hair. Shortly thereafter, Princess Charlotte left her quiet homeland for England and a dramatic new existence. An ideal consort. Charlotte endured wed in 1761 after a brief but mutually affectionate courtship. The unlikely pairing proved successful both personally and politically. Physically, the couple contrasted. Charlotte stood as tall as her husband despite the difference in rank, but her mild temperament and quiet dignity perfectly balanced the forceful king prone to instability. Charlotte embraced her new duties and earned admiration from ordinary Britons for her modesty and propriety. In grand scene depicting the couple, Charlotte exhibits a grounded confidence befitting her new status, commanding attention alongside the king. Over the next 2 decades, she regularly appeared at George's side to bolster him during public appearances. Charlotte also fulfilled the essential duty of producing heirs, giving birth approximately every 2 years to 15 children total. Behind closed doors, she tenderly cared for her ailing husband during bouts of mental illness that plagued George throughout their long companionship. Coping with crisis. For the earliest years of her reign, catastrophe plagued Britain and continually tested Queen Charlotte's mental. Shortly after she took the throne, the king lapsed into the first of his manic episodes that will recur throughout his life. As his behavior grew increasingly deranged, Charlotte shielded her spouse from scorn and preserved the privacy required to safeguard his legacy. In subsequent years, Charlotte witnessed the American colonies violently sever from Britain as the so-called Patriots rejected the crown's dominion. Britain's resounding defeat seems unimaginable for what was then the world's prominent imperial power. Meanwhile, at home, Charlotte grappled with fallout from the French Revolution's gallantines as she maintained equilibrium on the throne beside her infirm husband. The bloody tide of rebellion threatened to cross the English Channel. Years of grueling warfare against Napoleon followed, placing Britain's very survival at stake. Amidst the turmoil, Charlotte's courage provided ballast for the crown. Cultural impact. Despite the convolution of the age, Queen Charlotte advanced Britain's cultural influence in enduring ways. She took special interest promoting scientific trends and invested part of her allowance establishing Kew Gardens, which remain among the world's leading botanic research centers. An enlightened monarch, Charlotte likewise assembled an acclaimed natural history cabinet ranked by scholars as one of the finest in Europe, numbering among her prized collectibles were over 5,000 sea corals, 1,500 colorful tropical birds, and choice mineralogic specimens from around the globe. Charlotte likewise championed Britain's literary heritage through her advocacy for scholars and patronage for institutions. She donated part of her books collection to form the foundation of the British Museum Library and co-founded a charity that evolved into the Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital. Whether acquiring Linnean manuscript or founding orphanages, Queen Charlotte understood that even in the best of times, let alone amidst war and want, the sovereign role was to promote cultural flourishing. Recognizing African lineage, origin reconsidered. Despite Charlotte's prominence alongside King George III during transformative events, one intriguing aspect of her background remained obscured: the new queen's ethnic lineage. Because 18th century European aristocrats seldom acknowledged mixed-race ancestry, early historians view Charlotte as simply German-born. Royal officials in her time suppressed awkward inquiries into her potentially multi-ethnic origins, but more recently, Charlotte's extended family tree has elicited intense study and ethnographic debate. By meticulously analyzing church doctrine, scholars Mario Duval traced Charlotte's bloodline back centuries. He determined Queen Charlotte was directly descended from a black branch of the Portuguese royal house and 13th century ruler Alfonso III. Vlad believes Charlotte's heritage derived an ancient intermingling of Southern European, North African, and Middle Eastern bloodline extending deep into the past along medieval trade routes. This diverse ancestral thread came together improbably in Queen Charlotte, whose life represented 18th century Britain evolving empire. A queen for the ages. Present-day analysis of portraits showing Charlotte's visage, including pronounced cheekbones, full lips, and acute dark gaze, likewise indicates a mixed-race profile. While the truth remains partly shrouded, many historians now embrace Queen Charlotte as Britain's first black monarch, belatedly recognizing her multi-ethnic lineage better aligned with other modern conceptualization of Europe and Africa intertwined histories and societies. This recognition seems especially timely given Britain's one-time dominance of the slave trade, envisioning Queen Charlotte's life traversing from provincial German noblewoman to dynamic queen consort of a global empire centered on West Africa's brutal colonization, linked not so distant history to contemporary matters of race and identity. As one of Britain's longest-serving queens, Charlotte persevered during strife to uphold the crown through 57 years of eventful joint rule. But history best remembers monarchs not just for weathering storm with grace, but for advancing civilization's height. Despite the upheavals of her era, Charlotte steered the royalty to sponsor the sciences and scholarship, but her most timely legacy lies in finally reckoning with Charlotte as the United Kingdom's first monarch of color. Recognizing her rich multi-ethnic ancestry helped clarify Britain's central role in both European aristocracy and Africa's colonization in centuries past. Re-examining Charlotte's extraordinary passage through world-changing events called into question lingering assumptions about racial mixing woven through Europe and African intertwined lineage. Too often, history reduces complex life to simplistic narrative. We risk profoundly distorting the past unless continually questioning incomplete accounts. Who gets remembered? Who is forgotten? When pivotal details remain partially hidden. Charlotte's biography once appears straightforward. Minor German princess unexpectedly rises to become distinguished British queen consort. But ethnographic detective work suggests her cultural impact and personal identity was far richer. How many more noteworthy historical figures like Charlotte does the past yet obscure? We best honor Charlotte not through high geography, but by letting her surprising, divergent heritage broaden self-concept and prompt re-evaluation of the intricate ancestries linking Europe, Africa, and beyond over the ages. Ready for more royal intrigue and timeless tale? Check out the next video on screen to uncover another fascinating chapter in history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all things royal. See you in the next video.